For 3 years, I was a ghost, a shadow buried under the fluorescent lights of a Texas electronics plant, bleeding my youth away for $12 an hour. Then, the police kicked the door down. Cole Miller, you're under arrest for the first-degree murder of Daniel Porter in room 408, Oakmont University. I sat in the interrogation room, the metal cuffs biting into my wrists, and I actually laughed. I looked at the 3 detectives, their faces cold, their evidence bulletproof, and I felt like I was watching a movie about someone else's life. Officers, I said, my voice eerily calm. I don't even have a high school diploma. For the last 3 years, I've been clocking 12-hour shifts at a factory. I don't even know what state Oakmont University is in. The lead detective didn't blink. He slid a photo across the table. It was a student ID. It had my name. It had my social security number. And the face? It looked like me, if I hadn't spent 3 years starving. This is you. Oh, your roommates, your professors, your girlfriend. They all say you were there last night. They saw you holding the knife. How does a man become a murderer in a place he's never been? The answer started 3 years ago, at Belleville High. I wasn't a bad kid. I was just an exhausted one. My parents worked 3 jobs combined, and I worked nights to help. I fell asleep in calculus 1 too many times. That was all Bulldog Benson, vice principal, needed. But it wasn't just a routine expulsion. That day in his office, I saw them. A man in a $5,000 suit and his son, a boy named Connor who looked just enough like me to be a cousin. They didn't look at me like a human. They looked at me like a product. Within 24 hours, I was kicked out. Within 48 hours, my identity was gone. While I was sweating in a 110-degree factory in Texas, someone else was using my name to live the life I was supposed to have. Connor Miller became Cole Miller. He took my grades, my future, and my seat at Oakmont University. For 3 years, I accepted it. I stayed in the shadows to keep my family fed. But Connor didn't just steal my life. He ruined it. He killed a man, and now, he's handing the bill to me. Look at my hands. I suddenly screamed, slamming them onto the metal interrogation table. The younger cop jumped back. The lead detective leaned in. Look at them, I demanded. My hands were a map of agony. Thick, yellowish calluses. Deep, jagged scars from slipping screwdrivers. Dark, permanent grease stains under the fingernails. Faint, circular burn marks from the soldering irons on the B3 assembly line. These are not the hands of a college boy, I whispered, my voice trembling with 3 years of repressed rage. A college student handles pens and keyboards. I handle molten lead and raw steel. You say my fingerprints are in that dorm room? Impossible. My fingerprints have been worn smooth by industrial machinery. The room went dead silent. The lead detective picked up the crime scene photos again. He looked at the victim, stabbed 3 times in the abdomen. A crime of passion. A struggle. The biometric clock, I said, catching my breath. Suntech Electronics. Austin, Texas. I clocked in at 6 p.m. on December 17th. I clocked out at 6 a.m. the next morning. If the murder happened at 7:30 p.m. in a different state, then you're looking for a man who doesn't exist. The detective looked at the woman in the corner. Check the factory records. Now, 1 hour passed. Then 2. The door creaked open. The lead detective walked back in. He wasn't holding a confession form. He was holding a tablet. We checked the factory, Cole, he said, his voice sounding hollow. The biometric clock shows you were there. Your manager confirms it. You were on that floor all night. I felt a surge of relief so strong I almost collapsed. Then I'm free to go. He looked at me with a strange, terrifying pity. No, he said, because we just got the DNA results back from the skin under the victim's fingernails. It's a 100% match to yours. Not Connor's. Yours. My heart stopped. That's impossible. I've never met that man. It gets worse, the detective continued, turning the tablet screen toward me. We just pulled the security footage from the dorm hallway. The man who walked out of that room after the murder, he wasn't Connor. He didn't just look like you. He hit play. On the grainy screen, a figure stepped into the light. He turned his head toward the camera. It was me, not a lookalike, not an imposter. It was me, scars, factory grease, and all, holding a bloody knife, smiling at the lens. But I was 1,000 miles away. Who, or what, is living the other half of my life?